When one life is lost, another must grow. A retelling of a classic story that's been seen thousands of times can be found in Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, a Netflix original written and directed by Del Toro himself, the man behind such films as Pan's Labyrinth. And boy, this movie was really messed up. That creature that put the eyes on the hands that will continue to haunt me, and also Pacific Rim. These are two movies of his that I own. And anytime you put Del Toro's name on the poster or on the marquee or whatever, even though they don't really do marquees much anymore, it's almost a guarantee, a slam dunk, if you will, that I'm gonna watch it. Though I still need to see that Cabinet of Curiosity short series, because even though I know he didn't direct any of those, it was his influence, and man, Del Toro is so great, so revolutionary. He understands horror, he understands how to make films in a really fucked up way, and boy, does he ever do it with this retelling of Pinocchio. This is the second big budget Pinocchio version that has come out this year. Disney did one, released it on Disney Plus, and my God, that was a waste of $150 million. You can check out my review of that. So, you know the story of Pinocchio. You know it. Del Toro decides to put his own spin on it. Now, Mark Gustafson also helped direct this in stop-motion CGI style, and it's really messed up, but it's also quite good. In fact, this might end up being, even with a couple issues I had with it, this may end up being one of the best films of the year. This is exactly what you should do. Retelling a story that has been told and redone and redone and redone all the way home. This is exactly how you should do it. This was messed up. And it took, parts of the story that, we could see it in this version, where we could see it in this way with just a couple tweaks. No, let's just put it right in the middle of the Great War of Italy. Let's just put it right there. It's pretty much what they did with it. And what I liked about this is they told the story about how Geppetto lost his son, Carlo, during the Great War. And that really haunted him. And then Pinocchio was created, and we have Cricket, Sebastian J. Cricket, voiced by Ewan McGregor. Geppetto was voiced by David Bradley. Gregory Mann, with two N's, by the way, for maximum madness, I guess. He voiced Pinocchio and Carlo. And I will say, as far as Pinocchio versions, this is one of the best ones I've seen in a number of years. This was fucking phenomenal. Can't even say. The only issues I have with this movie, I'm not even really going to get into a ton of the story. I mean, there are a few different versions of it, and then some stuff stays the same as it ever was, and as the days go by. But with this movie, the stop-motion CGI style really works. It's dark. It's very dark. And I don't mean dark as far as light. I mean, like, geez, there's some really messed up stuff going on here. But Del Toro understood how to take the story in a different direction. It was written by Del Toro. And I don't want to knock Mark Gustafson, because obviously he had influence on this too. And working with Del Toro certainly allowed both of their skills to shine through. Patrick McHale, you want his dirty McHale. Matthew Robbins, and it's also, of course, based on the classic book that Disney did an animated version that had, boy, you want to talk about the Disney version? The animated version, that was really messed up. But yes, Ewan McGregor, David Bradley, Gregory Mann, Bern Gorman, who, and great actor, and apparently a really nice guy, has the perfect look to be a serial killer. Look at him. Seriously, he looks like a serial killer. Ron Perlman. Bet you can't guess what character Ron Perlman voices. Geez, it's like very obvious. From the opening line that this particular character says, Podesta, he is like, oh yeah, that's definitely Ron Perlman. He can't really hide that voice. And John Turturro. Finn Wolfhard, who was Richie in the recent edition of It. Kate Blanchett. Tim Blake Nelson. Tilda Swinton, and Christopher Waltz. Christopher Waltz plays Volpe, the carnival owner, the the creepy guy, and also there's a spazzy monkey that is the assistant and everything to Christopher Waltz's Volpe. So this basically just it takes place around the Great War. What I liked about this is it told more about how the relationship Geppetto had with Carlo and what led him down such a dark path and led him to almost destruction until Pinocchio was made into a real boy, even though he was actually just given life, and then he was a puppet and then acting all weird. And And he was a curious boy, and he just wanted to please his father. He didn't know how he got there, but he wanted to please his father. And obviously, the whole thing is Geppetto ends up learning to love him. But what I liked about this is it told the story about how Pinocchio could technically die, but, he would be able to just go back. They show a dark underworld thing. They show a lot of really, really messed up stuff. And Ewan McGregor actually adds a couple layers to Cricket, while not being the central focus. But there's a lot of really good voice acting here, a lot of really good animation, a lot of really, really, really messed up stuff. The war, the thrill of war is all around us. And there's a lot of really good stuff here. I mean, there's a lot of really, really good stuff you can sink your teeth into. The only issues I have, it is still a retelling of Pinocchio, and there is some familiarity, some stuff that we've seen time and time again. They can only do so much to twist the formula around. And the songs. Now, I will say, the first song that Geppetto does when he plays on the accordion to try and put his son to sleep, and yes, accordion music always calms me down. God damn, there was a teacher in, I believe, elementary school. One played bagpipes and one played the accordion. That school was loud, and I'm amazed that the sound barrier didn't crack and flatten the school with us in it. Nevertheless, what ends up happening is after that song, and it was, my son, that was good. That was a good one. That was actually a very moving one. There was Ciao Papa, or at least that's the name I'm going to call it. Other than it where Pinocchio says that and he goes off into the carnival life, other than that, every other song is generic. They're not bad. Don't misunderstand. That's the only criticism I have. Then, the only major criticism, then it is what it is. It is actually a very well done and beautifully told story where you have to learn to love people for who they are, is basically what it is. And other than that, it's just a Pinocchio movie with a Del Toro twist where Del Toro decides to just be absolutely messed up in the head. And I mean that with respect, because I love Del Toro's visions. Even his lesser movies like Crimson Peak that had really good ideas and was a great gothic horror, had great gothic horror imagery, wasn't all that great ultimately, and I was very disappointed by that one. But yes, stuff like, again, Pan's Labyrinth, which, again, if you have not seen Pan's Labyrinth, apologize, and then go watch it. And then you come back to this review and you apologize again for not watching this. Yes, you're going to have to deal with subtitles. So what? It's great. It's great. It's great. God, the creature with the eyes on his hands, my God. Other than that, it's a typical Pinocchio movie. So I am going to get into spoilers. It's on Netflix. You can check it out if you want. But yeah, there's some gross imagery, some haunting imagery, and a beautifully told story that, while familiar with the Del Toro twist and the other mind's influence in it, it works. So 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. Okay, not that I need to spoil all that much. But yes, Carlo ends up dying. Geppetto ends up, becoming a drunk. Jiminy Cricket lives in this tree that Geppetto planted by finding the perfect pine cone that Carlo went back into the church for when he was working on, or Geppetto was working on a statue or, a image of Christ on a cross, because they're very, very Catholic over there. And the bombing ends up flattening the church, killing him, but the pine cone somehow is intact. I've never quite understood that. So he plants pine cone, and then over the years he's drunk, he's upset. Cricket goes to live in the tree, and Geppetto decides to just cut down the goddamn tree because he's like, I'll make Carlo again from this accursed pine. There's some really good acting and some scary stuff in it. It shows how loss can really affect people. And Pinocchio was a destructive fuck once he was resurrected by these ghosts that were in these weird eye ghosts that were in the woods. They came together as the blue fairy winged creature thing voiced by Cate Blanchett. And there was also one voiced by Tilda Swinton. Or actually, in all honesty, it was kind of hard to tell the difference because they both have similar sounding voices. And Ron Perlman is very much a fascist type military guy that wants his son Candlewick to be a model fascist youth. An actual quote from this. And at one point, Pinocchio doesn't realize being made of wood means he can burn. So he ends up burning his feet off. Geppetto says, I'll make you new legs, a blackjack and hookers. No, he didn't say that, but that would have been funny. And then he is going to go to school. Well, then Volpe and Spazzatura the weird monkey creature come in, and they're going to have him join the carnival. Well, obviously, Pinocchio, when he lies, his nose grows. Well, his nose grows not just long like this, where the blue fairy would just love to sit on his face. And moving on from that image that I've now put in your head, it grows out like a tree branch. Like it's got all the spindly things and stuff like that. It kind of looks like that one gnarled tree from that one Gauntlet Dark Legacy level. If anybody remembers that game, I love you guys. And he ends up dying a few times. And each death, he must stay there a little longer with Big Red. There's a callback. And then he gets sent back. Well, Podesta realizes, hey, wait a second. If this guy comes, or if he comes back, then he's the perfect soldier. So he's gone away from thinking that he's this abomination, that he's not like the model fascist youth like his son, Candlewick. He's going to make Pinocchio a soldier. But then there's his binding contract where he signed a smiley sunny face, and he's supposed to basically do the carnival duty. Otherwise, he will end up making it to where his father owes Volpe a lot of money. So he decides to go off and do this. And what ends up happening is he does the Ciao Papa song, which actually is pretty moving. And he ends up, doing a bunch of performances where he realizes money isn't getting sent back to his papa. Like the profits aren't split 50-50. They're going off to perform for Benito Mussolini. No, really, that is something that actually happens in this movie. And then Spazzatura, he's basically this monkey is controlling people and making the puppets talk, despite the fact he himself can't talk. He's trying to basically drive a wedge between Pinocchio and Volpe, because Volpe is supposed to have this monkey as his favorite. Well, then Volpe decides to abuse the monkey. Don't abuse the monkey. Don't spank the monkey. And then they kind of come, in with a bit of a bond. A little bit later, when Pinocchio does this ridiculous set where he basically just makes a lot of shit jokes and a lot of piss jokes, and Benito basically says, shoot the puppet. So he shoots the puppet, and the puppet dies, and he stays a little bit longer with Big Red. And then he's going to go off to war. Candlewick just wants to please his father, but he realizes he's weak and he's flimsy. He's not a bad kid, but he's sought his father's approval. They do a paintball exercise thing with confetti grenades and stuff like that, but they need to hang the flag of the winning team. Well, they hang both their flags, and it's a tie. There's no tying in war, unless you're tying up a person to interrogate them, and you're supposed to shoot the puppet, son. Well, I'm not going to shoot the puppet. Well, then bombs start interrupting that. Then they shoot paint in Ron Perlman's character's face. He ends up getting blown up. Pinocchio ends up getting, sent off this cliff, which doesn't kill him, because the fort ends up getting destroyed. Somehow Volpe finds him and has him tied up and is going to burn him. He burns the contract, he's going to burn him, and then the monkey says, that's it, I'm done being abused, I'm done being spanked around. He attacks him, they go off the side. Pinocchio goes off the side. Well, Geppetto and Cricket are trapped in a whale. Yes, a giant, disgusting whale. Obviously, they would have to do such a thing. And they're trapped in there for a while. He ends up reunited with Geppetto. Him and that Spazzatura get swallowed up by it. And then they realize, well, they're trapped there forever. Oh, wait, there's a blowhole there that we can go through. So let's just go through that. So Pinocchio lies to get them across the chasm. They're about to go, and then a tree branch snaps. Him and Geppetto are falling, and then the blowhole blows them back up. Such is the life of a giant, disgusting whale with a blowhole. And now, they're going on, and they're about to get away. And then Pinocchio realizes, hey, wait a second. This whale's going to swallow us up again, because he's a disgusting whale. Such is the life of a disgusting whale. There's a landmine here. A landmine gets swallowed up by the whale. Pinocchio decides to press on the thing. Boom! But Geppetto is also falling into the water, and nobody can save him. He has to wait for the sand to run out. Well, by then Geppetto will die. He says, I can't wait for this. I need to go. If you do that, you will break the rules. You will become mortal. I don't care. I'm going to save him. And then, basically, he saves him, but since he's mortal, he dies. They get on an island, and that's it. That's it. That's it. Pinocchio died. Pinocchio died. No. Blue Fairy shows up. She had made a deal with Cricket earlier. You watch over him, I will grant you one wish. So he grants his one wish. I wish for him to live. And then Geppetto and Pinocchio bond, and it's good stuff. And there you go. Eventually, since I guess he is back to being immortal now, they weren't quite clear on that. They live in the home for years. Geppetto eventually dies, so does Cricket. Cricket lives on in a box in his heart. He goes off on an adventure. And Cricket's in the afterlife doing some singing and playing cards with the weird rabbit creature things that like to play poker. Yeah, Del Toro's a little bit messed up. Very messed up. I wonder what his childhood was like. But anyway, yeah, this gets an A+. This does. It's stylish, very moving, very good stuff. This is definitely what... I'm not saying that this is what Disney should have tried, but Disney should have tried to make it inventive like this. This nailed it. This absolutely nailed it. I can understand some people not liking it. I really like this. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Retelling. I'll see you soon.